took off on foot when the car got stuck in the mud. Inside, deputies found 2 camouflage backpacks stuffed with 77 pounds of pot. Deputies caught and arrested the 20-year-old suspect. The governor of Florida declaring a state of emergency ahead of Tropical Storm Eureka. The storm system pummeling the Caribbean overnight, killing at least a dozen people. Tropical storm warnings continue in Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and the central and southeast Bahamas. Here at home, we got hit pretty badly by a storm. Take a look at the damage in Buckeye. Skyfox over the scene near 195th Avenue in Arlington. Several homes in the area suffering serious damage. Let's take a look at the 10-day forecast. We're going to drop to a low in the hundreds, low 100s next week, but you can still expect it to stay a little cloudy. By the way, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to share your comments and pictures with us using the hashtag Fox10Phoenix. That's your Fox 10 Facebook update. Have a great weekend. I'm John Hook.
Hi all, welcome to Fox 10 News Now, our PM edition. That was John Hook giving us our Fox 10 Facebook update. He's always so cheery. We're so lucky to have him here. But I don't know where he is though. I don't think I saw him leave. Oh, I did see him leave. I saw him walk out the door at around 6 o'clock and he said that he would be back. He's at dinner. And then Troy just walked out and I was like, Troy, don't go. Don't do this to me. Because I wanted to start with him, but it's dinner time for Troy. Times Square is saying they're upping their police presence in New York City. Let's see why.
It's the crossroads of the world, a prime terror target, and a must-see destination for tourists from everywhere. It's also the scene of vibrant street hustles by scantily clad women and panhandling cartoon characters. Now Times Square is getting a dedicated contingent of 100 police officers who will be permanently assigned here to regular shifts. Some officers, like this one from the K-9 unit, are always in the at the same time. The NYPD says they're building on that idea so that the police will come to know the community and the regulars, like these men who work near Times Square.
I think that's a great idea, actually. If they're going to beef the presence, it would be great for them to have the same police.
Here is my volume weird? Tell me. Allow me to paraphrase here, but Gio says that Nigerian prince email, been getting it since 1999. He was a little more animated in his comment, though. Rachel said those job posting emails I get constantly. Joni says freaking scammers. Absolutely. I actually haven't received those in a really long time, but I do remember for quite a bit of, for years, I would get them, especially to my @Juno account, which thankfully no longer exists. John says, your winter wardrobe. Interesting question, John, about my winter wardrobe. That's something you're going to have to wait and see. Hopefully, I'll be able to start pulling it out soon and actually wearing it versus just gazing at it like, oh, I love that adorable moto jacket. I have motos in multitudes of colors. Motos are very important to me. But yeah, that's a strange scam, and I am. It's unfortunate that some of you guys are actually having to deal with that right now. Some of these email scams, versus whether it's so and so has passed and has left you a large sum of money. I have no friends. Nobody's going to leave me money, or click here for this job. Oh, now you have to type in your credit card information. That's always shady. Absolutely shady. This is I thought that this was an interesting title, and I haven't watched it, so we are experiencing this together. Let me warn ya. Study says excessively polite people are more likely to betray you. Well, now I'm just going to shove people when I see them in the hallway so they know that they can trust me.
Anyone trying to give it anything away for nothing.
Passive aggressives, insecure people.
People with a lot of money.
Politicians. The ones holding microphones.
The untrustworthy. Each of us describes them a little differently. But according to some new research, we all ought to direct our suspicions elsewhere. toward the excessively kind.
Oh, I don't trust him any further than I can throw them.
Findings presented to the Association for Computational Linguistics showed the friendliest among us as the most likely to double-cross us.
You're looking this way, and they're stabbing you this way.
Psychologist Dr. Jeff Gardier says he believes in kindness and recommends we accept whatever generosity we receive to a certain point.
You should be suspicious of anyone who goes overboard in trying to compliment you, especially if you don't think that compliment rings true.
Oh, Mac, you have such a great jump shot. Your handwriting's so great. Your muscles are huge.
New Yorkers are pretty honest about what they want, and if they're being too polite, they're maybe duplicitous. I expect them to tell me one thing to my face, turn around and go do something else.
They want something. Nothing's for free.
Then again, while the skeptical among us cruise through life suspicious of all people, organizations, and processes, many others trust the world to look after their best interests.
You can never be too friendly.
It just makes my heart feel good.
My philosophy of life is I genuinely believe that people are good, and that's how I prefer to live than thinking that people have an agenda and that they're out to get you.
Perfect prey for the excessively kind, or maybe just the winners of a certain strategy game. This research revolves around players of a game called diplomacy. On the Upper West Side, I'm Matt King, Fox 5 News.
Have you noticed I inadvertently have chosen to play a lot of New York packages? I love New York and I want to live there, and I want to live on the Upper East Side one day. True story. I am naturally a very polite person and I like to compliment people. So this study is very concerning to me, that people might think I'm not trustworthy. But I am incapable of holding secrets in. So maybe that is what it means. I'm not vindictive, but if you tell me something, I have to tell everyone. I overshare all the things. So that might be the concern there. Yeah. There were other things that were said. Oh, in the chat room, you were all Giolio is saying, Giolio, you are so good looking. Yes, you are, Giolio. And Ale is quite possibly the most genius beer enthusiast I've ever encountered in my life. Bina is by far the prettiest Bina I've ever known. Joni, you smell like roses. So yes, a lot of compliments being thrown back and forth in the chat room. Rachie used to live in NYC. She wants to move back there. Let's go, girl. We can be roommates. Interesting comment from Ale about Microsoft. I always get those blank fake Microsoft lady calls saying that my computer has viruses. Absolutely, I get those too, and I love to mess with those people. Ale, I will answer the phone and they say first of all, they assume that I have a Microsoft or a computer that's capable of Microsoft. I only use Apple computers at home. And they do tell you that there's a virus and they want to walk you through getting the virus off your computer. And I always mess with them right back. And I scream horrible things into my phone. And I just want to traumatize them as much as they've probably traumatized a million old ladies who have fallen for it. So I can feel you. I feel you, Ale. John, I appreciate you asking me that question in the chat, but I probably should not answer it here on news now. If you're on Twitter, we can take it to the Twitter. Ale says, I tell them that I have a Mac and they still keep saying that it has viruses. They're silly. Yeah, and it is a scam. I don't know exactly what the scam is. I don't know if they're trying to, kind of like virus up your computer or get your credit card, but I never let them get that far. I just start ripping it. Well, no, I'll go, yeah. Then what do I do? Then, and then I just start ripping into them. I traumatize them as much as I can. This might be a cute story. Kid goes nuts over garbage truck.
Monday mornings tend to be quiet in North Spokane. Streets are clear, front yards empty. A city silence that lingers until the garbage man arrives.
And off we go.
Lauren McBead took this unglamorous gig 22 years ago.
It has its ups and downs.
Since then, he's followed the same simple routine week after week. Trash can after trash can.
And then it's wait till the next week.
But these mundane motions suddenly seem special because of what awaits at the corner of Crestline and Glass.
He's always kind of the highlight of my week.
Is he coming soon?
At the Harkness household, Monday mornings mean one thing.
Garbage day. Garbage day.
2-year-old Brody gets to Grandma's 2 hours early just for this.
And this is what we do. We wait.
All to catch a glimpse of their garbage man in action.
Hurry! 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 Gubby! 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 Gubby!
This might be the first kid to give this truck a standing ovation. Oh, by the way,
Blue guy. Blue guy, yep.
that was the recycler.
This is just the appetizer.
The garbage man is still 10 minutes away.
Do you see him?
So they do it again.
Not yet. Blue guy. Brown guy. It just cracks me up, chasing a stinky, stinky garbage truck.
Don't ask Grandma to explain all of this, because she can't.
I really have no idea.
All she knows
It's sad. It is sad.
is this tradition is about to end.
Next Monday, I go back to work.
So it's time for Brody to say goodbye to his garbage man.
Here he is.
Thank you, buddy.
Give him 5.
Luckily, the little guy probably won't process all of this,
He won't know.
but everyone else will.
See you later, pal.
And for those who know Brody,
Catch me when you can.
garbage day
Thanks, Lauren. It's been a fun summer.
may never be the same.
Okay, bye. Bye, Mommy. Bye, Mommy.
That's the cutest thing I've ever seen. I want that child to hang out with me. I will wait with that child for the garbage man. Because I'm a hoarder and I usually throw away a lot of things every week to try to be less of one. So I have a reason to wait for the garbage man. Like, hey, could you just hang out for 1 more minute so I can restock this? So that there would be multitasking involved. I would be doing it for the child. I would be doing it for myself. But that was a really cute story. I'm glad that came out of Washington. And it makes my heart smile. Let's see if I can find another happy story for us. Because I've always, it's in the news. So there's always a lot of heavy content. This could be interesting. A giant Bob Dylan mural.
Many walk this stretch every day. Phones in their ears, eyes to the ground, thoughts somewhere else entirely. But today they stopped to look up.
That's amazing.
Right there on the corner of 5th and Hennepin, a 60 by 150 with murals in 15 countries, this one will be one of Cobra's largest, done in the shortest amount of time.
Before they got here, they planned and studied and mapped out the plan for like 20 days.
The piece is a gift from Goldman Sachs, a part of the Hennepin Theater Trust effort to tie together the art scene along Hennepin Avenue.
It's another way that we're using arts and culture to really transform a place into something much bigger and better, and really realizing the potential of what these spaces are.
Inspiring young artists along the way.
I could see him from the window all day, so I wanted to come over and do a little sketch.
A budding artist working under the watch of one of the greatest, among a commuter crowd that could include Minnesota's next big star.
What a cool story. That's nice. Sparks a little creativity. Yeah, I have so much political stuff, and I'm trying to hold off on it. And then I also know I promised them Katrina, and I'm going to push that towards the very end because I don't want to upset some people that have a history with it that are currently watching. So let's see, what else can we go to? So I'm trying, just so you know, I'm really trying to avoid, for as long as I can, the politics, because that's going to be a big block. And then we're going to go into Katrina. I've got some local stories that I can play for you. I know Ale loves the weather, so let's jump into weather right now. Oh wait, I have one more super happy, sweet story. Let's do that real quick.
It's an experience kids dream about, riding on the back of a dolphin and getting to be a trainer for the day.
It was like I was swimming a million times faster than I usually do.
10-year-old Jaden just underwent surgery for a brain tumor, and her, along with 10 other smiling kids from Rady Children's Hospital, are getting the full trainer experience at SeaWorld.
I was thinking, I'm going to be in the water with a dolphin. Who else gets to be in the water with a dolphin?
The kids learned to teach the dolphins some of their favorite behaviors, like one of those amazing stories, twins Eric and Raul, who both received heart transplants at Rady Children's Hospital. The miracle operations happened earlier this year, and now Mom gets to see them playing, jumping, and this time swimming.
As you can see, I'm really excited as well. It was amazing seeing them swimming with the dolphins right there. It was just something that we never thought that we were going to be able to do, but they were. So it was a great experience.
For the boys and each of the kids, they got splashed, slippery hugs, and some really wet kisses. But their favorite part was always the famous fin ride.
Riding their backs. It's something that probably you'll never get to do again. It's a life memory.
Cool visuals. I would love to do something like that too. Hopefully one day. And for you, Ale, let's jump into the weather.
Exclusive AccuWeather forecast with Dave Muncy on Fox 10 News.
Well, hi, everybody. Let's take a look at what's going on as far as our weather is concerned. Boy, doesn't it look nice and clean and clear out here with all of the rain that we've had. That's what happens the day after. It's 107 degrees right now. We've got a few clouds. Those winds dying down a little bit from what we had yesterday. Out of the west at 5, we have 51 degrees on the dew point, 16% on the humidity right now. Look at these numbers: 107 in Ahwatukee, 106 in Chandler, 103 up in Cave Creek at Fountain Hills, 107, still 109 in Glendale. And as you can see here, yeah, we got a little bit of moisture working its way into the state again tonight. There's a very slight chance of a storm out there. Not a very big one because we don't have a lot to work with here. We head down into the city, and you can see up here in the Wickenburg area, a little something gathering up in that area. We back off to give you a look at that. A little something up by Flagstaff, but that stuff dying out very rapidly. The eastern mountains have a little bit of active weather in them, as you can see, but once again, not a great deal. And the areas that we are seeing are getting some pretty good moisture through the day today. And you take a look at that 109-degree temperature for the high, 106 in Mesa, 106 in Scottsdale, out at Luke 106, 104 is the norm, 113 is the record high for the day. Other numbers that we have from around the state would be 107 at Gila Bend, 79 at Flagstaff, 97 in Sedona. There's the normal line, and we're up on one end, but down on the other end we get down to the seasonal norm. So we're starting to get a little bit more seasonal. This is your day: 109 on the high, 81 on the low, 104 and 82, normal high and low, record high 113, record low at 64. Across the country, you can see that system pushing western edge of Florida by Friday and Saturday. Overnight, we will be looking at 88 degrees with a little chance of a storm. For tomorrow, 109 degrees. There's a chance of an afternoon storm. And then on Sunday, 106, 105 by Monday. And we keep backing off a little bit from there, getting down to 103 and 104, the seasonal norm for this time of year. Watch your kids around water.
Thanks, Dave Muncy. Rachel suggested swimming bears before we jump into politics, the political party. And I don't know what swimming bears story you're referring to. I believe that is a Samya thing. However, I found this video, and tell me if this is the right video. Is this the right video? I mean, it's precious. Joni, please keep us in... Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Joni, please keep us up to date in regards to your safety. I know that Florida's got some crazy weather happening, and we want to make sure that you are okay. Joni is a regular here on FNN. And so please, Joni, keep us updated on your safety throughout your storms. Is this what you were talking about? Someone tell me. Oh, yeah. That's super sweet. I love it. They are having us too. This is cute. Just living the dream. Is this what we should just watch bears swimming in human pools? Oh my gosh, that looks so much like my dog. It looks so much like my ladle. Oh, I'll show you. I'll pull up my National Dog Day tweet. That looks so much like my dog. And he acts like a bear too. He's a real jerk. Oh, where's the ladle? Oh my gosh. Look at my dog. I mean, are you kidding me right now? Here we go. I laughed until I cried. My eyelashes off. Little.
Unmatched in size and strength.
I don't know what that
no
is.
No creature could challenge the mighty bear. Then
there's a bear story that's playing here, and it's unnecessary. So that's my little dog that looks like a bear. Ladle. Yeah, that was my National Dog Day photo. Okay, are we ready to get into some politics? Because I am. Let's jump right in. And I think it's Tess in the room has said some nice things about Carly Fiorina. And I have a huge portion of a speech she did today in Iowa.
Come here. Come here.
One thing we have learned about Donald Trump is that he is sensitive about his hair. He even summoned a supporter on stage to verify his claim.
Yes, I believe it is.
Thank you.
And sure enough, hair is one of the words that figures prominently in a fascinating word cloud put out by Quinnipiac University, asking voters what word comes to mind with different candidates. For Trump, the most popular is arrogant. For Jeb Bush, what comes to mind is simply his last name. And for Hillary Clinton, the most common word is liar. That may be the result of the ongoing classified email controversy that has engulfed her campaign. But Clinton just made a strong pivot back to a topic that has resonated for her in the past, the so-called war on women.
Extreme views about women, we expect that from some of the terrorist groups. We expect that from people who don't want to live in the modern world. But it's a little hard to take coming from Republicans who want to be the president of...
Far. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Yeah, and we watched that speech last night here on Fox 10 News Now where she said she kind of compared the Republican candidates to terrorists, which we were talking about that in the newsroom earlier. Why don't you just stay away from that word? You know, that's like never an appropriate thing to compare anyone to. It's just, they've got to realize how polarizing that word is and just stay away from it. Ugh. It's a scary word, right? Especially right now.
Billionaire front-running Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has led the polls for more than 2 months. And addressing a Chamber of Commerce lunch crowd in South Carolina today, proclaimed his candidacy bigger than himself.
What we've done has been amazing. And it's not me, there's a movement going on. This is not like a normal, when you see Bush at 300 people and they're happy, and we have 17 or 1,800 people, and it's just there's something happening. There's something happening.
A new Quinnipiac poll shows Trump surging 8 points in the last month to 28% nationally, more than double Ben Carson at 12, and the rest of the pack in single digits. Trump says he's tapped into the, quote, silent majority, but he also tops the Q poll's No Way survey with 26% of Republicans saying they'll never vote for him. Jeb Bush has lost ground as Trump has gained. 18% of Republicans say there's no way they'll vote for Bush. More than any other candidate, including Clinton, Bush gets hammered the most by what Trump today called the silent majority, a phrase Richard Nixon used in '69. In Washington, Carl Cameron, Fox News.
Oh, wow. That is a lot of Trump. Here, I tweeted it. Let me show you my favorite Trump quote from today. And this way, we played this on FNN earlier. This is my favorite Trump quote from today.
Brady,
yes, and the judge wants the two sides to settle. Do you think Brady should settle with the NFL?
Leave Tom Brady alone, right? We love Tom Brady. Well, as you know, he's a very good friend of mine. I know Tom Brady. Tom Brady is an honest guy. He's a great guy. He's a great champion and winner. Leave him alone. Yes.
Always. He is always up to a really great soundbite is what I should say. He is always prepping for his next soundbite. But that made me laugh out loud today. Leave Tom Brady alone. Tom Brady's tough. He can take care of himself.
Hillary Clinton joined her 3 Democratic presidential rivals, rallying the DNC at its summer meetings in Minneapolis this afternoon.
When I talk like this, some people think, there she goes again with the women's issues. Republicans actually say I am playing the gender card. Well, if calling for equal pay and paid leave and women's health is playing the gender card, deal me in.
Clinton doubled down on attacking Republicans and stopped short of apologizing for comparing them to terrorists on women's health issues at a campaign event in Cleveland yesterday. She immediately caught heat for those remarks from those in the GOP.
Hillary Clinton and her party are the extremists here on a whole series of issues, and her comparing any Republican to a terrorist is simply over the line.
But at a town hall campaign event in Norfolk, Virginia, Jeb Bush, now a polling underdog, turned his attention to Donald Trump. Bush blasted the Republican frontrunner's policy proposals.
I cut taxes $19 billion. Every year we cut taxes. The last time he had an idea about taxes, it was taxing assets, the largest tax increase.
Trump, though, remains a powerful force, topping the polls and drawing thousands to campaign events across the country.
Americans are looking for a leader to actually act on what they say and mean what they say, and Trump is tapping into that.
It'll be a busy weekend on the campaign trail. Presidential candidates will stop in New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Utah. In Washington, Doug McKelway, Fox News.
Thanks, Doug.
Speaking to a crowd in Cleveland, Hillary Clinton blasted Republicans who she deemed extremists.
Extreme views about women, we expect that from some of the terrorist groups.
Wow.
We expect that from people.
There's a couple of packages with this line in it.
World. But it's a little hard to take coming from Republicans who want to be the president of the United States.
Her comments have already drawn criticism from the RNC and her Republican challengers, and they come on the heels of a new poll that shows her lead shrinking, with Vice President Joe Biden edging her out against the leading Republican challengers.
Hillary is showing consistent and systematic slippage in the primary polling.
But one rival is apparently not worried about Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump.
I know I'm going to win.
Instead of defending his double-digit lead in the polls at a rally in Greenville, South Carolina, Trump basked in it.
We have not been heard for a long time, but we're being heard now. Big league, big league.
And no matter how tough Trump talks, his supporters have clung tight, according to polls.
If you're placing bets at this point, you bet on Trump sticking around.
Trump's closest competitor in the newest poll, Ben Carson, the come-from-behind retired pediatric neurosurgeon who Trump won't even criticize. In Washington, Doug McKelway, Fox News.
Or did I already see this earlier when I was previewing our clips? Don't answer that. Let's just keep going. Let's just go with the flow.
Carly Fiorina was stuck at just over 1% or 14th place in the polling average that Fox News used for the primetime Cleveland debate on August 6th. But that was before her breakout performance in the early evening debate, which included this shot at Donald Trump.
I didn't get a phone call from Bill Clinton before I jumped in the race. Did any of you get a phone call from Bill Clinton? I didn't. Maybe it's because I hadn't given money to the foundation or donated to his wife's Senate campaign.
The former Hewlett-Packard CEO has surged to 5%, or 8th place, in this week's Quinnipiac poll. But CNN's polling criteria are almost certain to exclude her from the main debate on September 16th.
Wherever you were before August 6th has more of an impact on your standing on September 16th than where you were after August 6th, which seems a little backwards, doesn't it?
She's in the top 10 in every state poll. She's in the top 10 in every national poll that's come out since the first debate. CNN and the RNC want to keep her off the next debate stage again.
CNN is including numerous polls from 3 weeks before the debate, when Fiorina was barely on the radar, and their weight is dragging her out of the top 10. There have been only 2 national polls since the Fox debate. A CNN spokeswoman told me FEC guidelines make it clear that these criteria cannot be changed after they have been published. We believe that our approach is a fair and effective way to deal with the highest number of candidates we have ever encountered. RNC spokesman Sean Spicer is pushing back against Fiorina's criticism, saying the party is legally barred from interfering with the media's rules. But Fiorina sees a built-in bias.
And so if you're a professional politician and have been in the game a long time, or you're a celebrity, you're advantaged in national polls. If you're an outsider who literally most people had never even heard of before I launched my campaign on May 4th, you're disadvantaged.
Fiorina obviously generates publicity by attacking CNN, but there's no question being pushed off the big stage would hurt the GOP's only female candidate. In Washington, Howard Kurtz, Fox News.
That's so interesting and so disappointing that they would do it. They would set it up that way. I'm going to play one more political-ish package before we jump into Carly's speech in Iowa from earlier today. Oh, I just clicked the wrong button. Typical Tuesday.
Behind the White House veneer, one brimming with confidence that it has the votes to secure the Iran nuclear deal, there's high anxiety about whether the president gets there by filibuster or sustained veto.
Congress is now weighing in on it, and we just got to make sure that Congress supports it.
What that support looks like could mean the difference between sidestepping congressional drama or settling in for a potentially embarrassing and bruising veto override fight. Call it a race to 41. The White House has 29 votes in the Senate, but it needs 12 of the remaining 15 undecided Democrats to reach the necessary 41 votes to allow for a filibuster. Having to save the deal by veto, which would be just the 5th of his presidency, could affect America's diplomatic standing, according to UN Ambassador Samantha Power, who told Politico, quote, "If the United States rejects this deal, we would instantly isolate ourselves from the countries that spent nearly 2 years working with American negotiators to hammer out its toughest provisions."
What we've been able to do is organize the entire world community to force Iran to the negotiating table and now have a deal that ensures that they don't get a nuclear weapon.
But the devil is in the details. American negotiators haven't seen all the so-called side agreements between Iran and the IAEA, that's the nuclear watchdog group that would carry out inspections, and there are still questions about whether they'd even get access to suspected nuclear sites like the disputed military facility at Parchin. Today, Democratic support for the deal continued to erode in the House, with New York Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney joining the growing list of those from the president's own party opposing the agreement. Maloney saying in a statement, "What we wanted out of this agreement was peace, but before the ink was dry, the mullahs were declaring death to America." Meanwhile, a group of nearly 200 bipartisan retired generals and admirals sent a letter to Congress urging lawmakers to reject the deal, which they say threatens national security. Of the signatories, just about all work for the White House in one capacity or another, both for Democrats and Republicans, for the record. And for those of you who are calendar watchers, keep in mind the date, September 17th. Barring a filibuster, by that date, congressional lawmakers have to weigh in on the Iran nuclear deal. At the White House, Kevin Corke, Fox News.
That's interesting. Now we are going to go to Carly Fiorina. This is earlier today in Iowa, and I think that I like to listen to her speak. I think she's very smart. I enjoy her. I enjoy Ben Carson, and who does not enjoy a good Trump speech? I mean, if anything, after this election, he is going to make millions and billions of dollars in appearance fees because he is such a hoot. But let's take a look at Carly from earlier today.
And this actually isn't a partisan comment. 75% of the American people now think the federal government is corrupt. You know what that number means? It means it's Republicans and Democrats and independents, it's young and old, it's men and women. 82% of the American people now believe we have a professional political class that is more concerned with the protection of its own power, position, privilege than on getting anything done. And whatever issue you care most about, whatever your cause, whatever festering problem you hope would be resolved by now, pick it. Securing the border, serving our veterans, dealing with the tax code, finally dealing with debts and deficits. Whatever your issue, whatever your cause, whatever your festering problem you hope would be resolved, the political class has failed us. I believe we need a very different kind of leadership in the White House now. There are lots of people who operate within the status quo. They're called managers. There are managers in business, there are managers in politics. There are people who don't challenge the status quo, they operate within the status quo. They don't challenge the system, they do the best they can within the system. And a lot of those people have benefited from the system, so they're not going to take it on. But that is not what leadership is. A leader's job is to challenge the status quo. A leader's job is to challenge the system. And most importantly of all, a leader's job is to unlock potential in others. And now I think we need a leader who will unlock the potential of this great nation. I am reminded of something that a great hero of mine once said. Margaret Thatcher once said to her countrymen at a pivotal point in their history, "I am not content to manage the decline of a great nation." Well, ladies and gentlemen, neither am I. And I think we have been managing the decline of a great nation for far too long. I am prepared, however, with your help, your support, your votes, your prayers, to lead the resurgence of this great nation. A leader now is necessary to win this election. Yep, we got to win in 2016, but we also need a leader who can do the job. And I think what the job takes now is a leader who understands how the economy actually works. She must understand how the world works and who's in the world. The truth is, I know more world leaders on the stage today than anyone running, with the possible exception of Hillary Clinton, and I didn't do photo ops. I had private meetings with kings and prime ministers and premiers all over the world. And so I know from personal experience that when we do not lead, when we do not stand with our allies and confront our adversaries, that the world is a more dangerous and a more tragic place. Our president must understand bureaucracies and how to hold them accountable and cut them down to size, because our federal government now is one gigantic, bloated, inept, corrupt bureaucracy that spends more of your money every single year and serves you less. She needs to understand technology, because technology is a tool. It's a tool that we can use to re-engage citizens in the process of our government, but it's also a weapon being used against us. And finally, she needs to understand leadership. That actually leadership is not about power, it's not about position, it's not about title, it's not about how big your office is, how big your airplane is, or even how big your helicopter is. Leadership is about unlocking potential in others. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I am happy to take your questions. Yes. Are you a student, ma'am? Are you a student? Yes. Yes. Okay, good. And then I'll come to you, and then I'll go back there. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Haley Mullins. I'm a Republican here at Iowa State. And my question is, Iowa is a leader in clean energy, especially wind. How do you plan to grow the economy and create more clean energy jobs here in Iowa?
Yeah. So we need to be the global energy powerhouse of the 21st century. We need to be the global energy powerhouse of the 21st century, which means that we need to be the leader in every form of energy. Clean energy, absolutely. But we also, frankly, need to be the leader in every other kind of energy. And it is not factual to say, and I support that, we need renewable energy to have a level playing field, and that means that we need to balance the tax credits and all the benefits that fossil fuels have gotten over the years with some of the new measures that your governor and others have pushed hard for, and I support that. But I also believe that over time the federal government should not have a role in setting prices or determining market access, because I don't think that's an appropriate role for the federal government. And so ultimately we're going to have to roll all of that back. So my proposal would be this, that we give everybody in any field of energy a lot of notice. And we say maybe by 2022, which is when the RFS standards sunset, by 2022 we're going to roll federal government's involvement in these markets back completely. We're going to give everybody plenty of time to get used to that. We're going to make sure the playing field is level in the meantime between all these sources of energy, but ultimately the federal government needs to get out. Now let me also say one other thing. You know, tied up in the debate about clean energy, and it's vital that we have clean energy and that we lead in clean energy. It's also vital that we're honest with the American people about the fact that clean energy alone will not be enough to power the world or power Iowa or power our nation. And wrapped up in that whole conversation is the subject, of course, of climate change and global warming. And you will hear from a lot of Democrats, you will hear from this president, that we have to do all these things to impact climate change, which the scientists tell us is man-made. And so, for example, the Environmental Protection Agency is slowly but surely, and now more rapidly in the last couple of years, destroying the coal industry in this country. And they will cite science as the evidence for it. But if you've ever read the fine print of that science, and politicians will never give you the fine print, what the fine print of the science says is this: a single nation destroying jobs and livelihoods and communities at the altar not of science, but of ideology. I lived for 12 years in the state of California and watched the Environmental Protection Agency destroy the agriculture industry because they are controlling water from Washington, D.C. And the Central Valley, the most productive agricultural farmland in the world, is slowly but surely being destroyed. And I have seen what 40% unemployment looks like in towns like Mendota, California. It isn't pretty, ladies and gentlemen. And I have been to coal mining communities in Kentucky and West Virginia, and I have seen what happens when you take a community that has spent generations in the coal mining industry, and now they are told by government, nope, we don't like that industry anymore, and you don't get a job in that industry anymore. You know what happens when you have a community with 40% unemployment? Where people have no hope of moving forward in their lives because their livelihoods have been taken away from them by government? I'll tell you what it looks like. Drug abuse, domestic violence, communities coming apart. We cannot sacrifice other people's livelihoods at the altar of somebody's ideology. So knowing what the science says, we need to be the global energy powerhouse of the 21st century for a whole set of reasons, because it creates jobs and livelihoods for Americans. Because we can lead in an industry that matters to the whole world. Because if we are the global energy powerhouse of the 21st century, then the bad guys who control a lot of oil right now don't get to be quite so bad. And finally, because the only way we're going to solve this problem is through innovation, not regulation. And the only way you can innovate is to have industry strong enough to invest in innovation. Thanks for asking the question. Yes, ma'am, and then I'll come to you, sir. Hi.
Thank you for coming today. When you become president, what do you plan to do about the influence that money has in politics?
So when I become president, thanks for that vote of confidence. You all have a big impact on that. I think it's pretty clear that most people think we need some kind of campaign finance reform. Here's what I would say. I'm prepared to live with any set of rules as long as everybody has to play by the same set of rules. And so far, most of the proposals that come out about campaign finance reform don't have everybody playing by the same rules. So I'm always fascinated to see, for example, the New York Times take out editorials calling the Koch brothers un-American, and yet they never say anything about George Soros or Tom Steyer, who are spending every bit as much money in the political process. In other words, it's okay to have liberal money spent, but it's not okay to have conservative money spent. That's called hypocrisy. Likewise, I'm perfectly okay if people say, you know what, corporations shouldn't be engaged in the political process through their PACs, even though an employee putting money into a PAC in a company is purely voluntary, and a union member has no say in the fact that their union dues go into political PACs used to influence the political process. I'm okay saying that a whole set of lobbying firms don't get to participate in the political process, but I'm not okay when people say, but let's grandfather a whole bunch of these organizations that have always played in the political process. Let them stay involved in the political process. It's just the new ones that don't get to play. So in other words, I'm okay with any set of rules as long as it's the same for everybody, it's completely transparent, and we understand who's giving money to what. Then I'm okay. Yes, sir.
We have a mic over here.
I'm a political science major here at Iowa State, and I was just wondering, what's your plan to combat and fix our budget? Because we need a balanced budget.
Yeah. So, you know, there are a couple problems. One, we haven't had a budget for a really long time. That's sort of a problem. But secondly, we spend more money each and every year. It's one of the examples of the political class failing us. Government has spent more money every year for about 50 years now. We have never reduced the size of government. In fact, quite the contrary. No matter what politicians say, election after election, we spend more money in Washington, D.C. every year. And the debt and deficit gets higher. Of course, it's gotten much higher under President Obama, but the truth is, we've had debts and deficits for a really long time. So, how do you reduce debts and deficits? By the way, you all know the answer to that. You don't have to be a political science major to know. How do you reduce debts and deficits? There are only two things you can do. Grow the economy, cut spending. Grow the economy, cut spending. Grow the economy, cut spending. If we cut spending in the right way, we help grow the economy. So if you start to roll back all of these EPA regulations that don't do a thing to improve our environment, but do a lot to crush economic opportunity, you're contributing to both reducing spending and growing the economy. Did you know, by the way, you should know this, that the Environmental Protection Agency now controls, as of this month, 95% of the water in the state of Iowa. It's not going to be helpful to economic growth. It's not going to be helpful to the agricultural industry here in this state. How do you reduce spending while at the same time knowing that there are priorities upon which you must spend? We have to secure our border. We've been talking about it for 25 years. We haven't done it yet. It's going to cost money and take manpower. That's important. We need to invest in that. I had a daughter who died of addictions. We have to invest more in the treatment of drug addictions and mental health. How are we going to do that and still spend less money? How are we going to make sure that we care for our veterans? The Veterans Administration has been a stain on our nation's honor for 20 years. We haven't fixed it. How are we going to do that and still spend less money? Well, you know the answer to this too. The only way you can spend more money on what's important and less money overall is you have to prioritize your spending, right? That's how you do it at home or in a business. And how's the only way you can prioritize spending? Actually, we have to know where your money is being spent. We have to go to some version of zero-based budgeting, some version of a plan where every single agency, every single year, has to justify every single dollar. You might be shocked to know that when an agency goes before Congress in an appropriations hearing, they never talk about their whole budget. Never. The only thing they talk about is the rate of increase over last year's budget. So you could be spending hundreds of billions of dollars on something that makes no sense at all. What a shock. We're doing that throughout government a lot. Or you could be wasting hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, or you could have fraud or corruption. By the way, if you think that's an exaggeration, every year Congress gets a report. A great senator named Tom Coburn, who is unfortunately retiring from the Senate, publishes a report every year, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud, waste, abuse, corruption in the federal government budget, and what do you suppose happens? Nothing. Nothing. So, in order to get to a place where we can spend less overall and yet prioritize and invest in those things that matter, we must know where every dollar is being spent. We must go to zero-based budgeting. How, might you ask, are we going to do that? Because it takes Congress to act. Bear with me here for a moment. We know that politicians respond to pressure. And when pressure is applied to politicians, they move. How do we know that? Because a year and a half ago, when the scandal of the VA wait times in Arizona hit, there was so much pressure put on the political system that within 3 short weeks, Congress came together in a bipartisan bill, passed a law, which Obama promptly signed, that said we could fire. Wow, we could fire the 400 senior executives in the Veterans Administration. It was a breakthrough, because you can't fire anybody in the federal government. By the way, sad note, only one person's been fired. A month ago, we learned 256,000 veterans have died waiting for appointments. You don't hear a peep out of Washington or all these politicians. But the point is, they responded to pressure. So, I will ask all of you citizens, truly, changing the direction of our nation, taking our country back, unlocking its potential, takes not just leadership, it takes citizenship. And so on a regular basis, I will go into the Oval Office and I will ask you a series of questions, and I will ask you to vote on your smartphones. Because technology is a way of focusing pressure on the political class. So I'm going to ask you that question, sir. I'm going to say, please take out your smartphones. Maybe I'll do this in the weekly radio address. Please take out your smartphones, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, side note, I've seen a lot of flip phones here in Iowa. Maybe not on the college campus here. Maybe Cyclones don't own flip phones, but some of the rest of Iowans do, and you must upgrade. You have 18 months to do so. Smartphones are required for this, but the point is, I'm going to ask, do you think we should know where every dollar is being spent and go to some version of zero-based budgeting? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. This technology exists. Do you think we ought to be able to fire senior executives in the federal government who don't do their jobs? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. The point is, there are a whole set of questions that you know the answers to. It is common sense and good judgment. And now it is time to focus the common sense and good judgment of the American citizenry on the political class so we actually get something done. Know where your money is being spent and prioritize how we spend it. Yes, sir.
My name's Robert Dunn. I'm an accounting major here. Like you, actually getting a second degree. My concern is I'm slightly older, and I remember the early 2000s when we had a Republican president and the Republicans controlled Congress, and not a lot of conservative reform took place. In fact, the exact opposite happened. As a principled conservative, I have to honestly say that I am disillusioned with the Republican Party. I am still hanging on for hope. However, we've just fought to get the Senate back, yet it seems like whenever there's conservative reform brought to the table, leadership is blocking it. So under a Fiorina presidency, how are you going to make sure that necessary conservative reform happens with a Republican majority? Thank you.
Well, you're making my point, aren't you? Politicians are politicians. You're making my point. You're exactly right. Things don't really change. They didn't really change in 2000. When we had the White House, the House, and the Senate, government still got bigger. When we had the White House, the House, and the Senate, we still didn't secure the border. When we had the White House, the House, and the Senate, we still didn't serve our veterans. When we had the White House, the House, and the Senate, we still didn't reform the tax code. That's why I say, whatever your issue, whatever your cause, the political class has failed you. And that is why I think it is time for a different kind of leadership. You know, ours was intended to be a citizen government. When did we get used to the idea that only a professional politician could run for office? For most of our nation's history, people came out of private life and served for a time and returned to private life. It worked pretty well, actually. We need a different kind of leadership. And we also need a leader who understands that we have everything we need to solve every problem. You know, people sometimes ask me how I went from secretary to CEO. I didn't have a plan to go from secretary to chief executive. But what I found out about myself is that I would run to problems, not run away from them. And every time I ran to a problem, I would find people who knew how to solve the problem. They just had never been asked. So I would ask them. And together we would solve the problem. That is why I'm going to ask you how to solve these problems, because you know. And when we take the common sense and good judgment answers, this is common sense. If you want to spend less money and spend it better, wisely and well, invest it where you should, and save it where you don't need to spend it, you need to know where your money's being spent. This isn't rocket science, folks. It is why I will focus the pressure of the American people. Now, we also have to have a conversation, I believe, about what the real difference between conservatives and progressives is. Look, this is a college campus. I know on a lot of college campuses, people say, oh, well, Republicans are mean and, you know, they don't care about people. And by the way, I think when we are insulting in our politics, whether Democrats or Republicans do it, and both do it, by the way, when Hillary Clinton yesterday compared Republicans to terrorists, that's pretty insulting. But when we are insulting to people, when we're angry, when we're vitriolic, when we're judgmental, that doesn't engage people in the political process. It causes them to turn away. And we have the lowest voter participation rates that we've had in a really long time now. And when I talk to all those people who aren't voting anymore, it's not that they don't care. It's they think they don't count. They think nothing really changes. But we do have to make clear what some of these differences are. So let me tell you how I explain it. I was on The View, you know, the show The View, I don't know, 2 months ago maybe. It's not exactly where conservatives go. But on the other hand, I think to win elections, we have to persuade people who don't know that they agree with us yet. And so I went on The View. Okay, and I'm having quite a good time. I love the host. We're having a great conversation. And sort of midway through, we're talking about my meeting with Vladimir Putin, actually. They were very interested in Vladimir Putin. And one of the hosts said to me, Rosie, it was Rosie Perez, she said, you know, Carly, I'm not a Republican. I said, wow, I'm shocked, Rosie. I never would have guessed that. Why are you? Why are you? And I said, because I know that no one of us is any better than any other one of us. Every one of us has God-given gifts. Every one of us has potential. Every one of us can live a life of dignity and purpose and meaning. And I believe our values and our principles and our policies work better to lift people up. Now, if you doubt that difference, here's what I think progressives really believe. When you look at the impact of their policies, what they actually believe is that some are smarter than others. Some are better than others. Some are going to take care of others. And some really can't live lives of dignity or purpose and meaning and don't have any gifts. And if you think that is harsh, just look at the impact of their policies. We've tangled people's lives up in webs of dependence for generations. And that is disrespectful to their gifts and disregarding of their dignity. Or ask yourself, why is it that the head of the Public Teachers Union in Chicago, when they were striking, and the strike, of course, was about teacher accountability in the classroom, why she takes to the microphones and she says, we cannot be held accountable for the performance of students in our classroom because too many of them are poor and come from broken families. So what was she saying? If you're poor and you come from a broken family, you can't learn. And we won't teach you. But never mind, we'll just take care of you. Or ask yourself why 4 million people have fallen into poverty under President Obama. Or why we have record numbers of Americans on food stamps now. So, we have to make the differences clear. between what conservative principles are really about. But we also have to have a different kind of leadership so that those principles are translated into real results. And ask yourself, as well as you evaluate a whole set of presidential candidates, you know, politicians talk. I'm talking too. Ask yourself, who has a track record of turning talk into results? Who's actually challenged the status quo? Who's actually cut down bureaucracies? Who's actually produced results? Because that's the kind of leader we're going to have in the White House. Yes, sir, way in the back.
You've grown a lot of the businesses that you've... can you hear me? Wonderful. So I'll just restart that. So earlier you talked about growing the economy. And so I was curious, how have you been able to grow the businesses in which you are a part? And how does that relate to growing the economy?
Okay, so great question. So first, we have to start by understanding what is the real engine of economic growth in this nation. The real engine of economic growth in this nation has always been small businesses, new businesses, family-owned businesses, and farms. It's what it's always been. I led Hewlett-Packard. Hewlett-Packard was started by two guys in a garage. Small and new businesses have always been the job creators and the innovators of this economy. You know, when I led Hewlett-Packard, we were really, really proud of the fact that we tripled our innovation rates to almost 15 patents a day. But the truth is, small and new businesses innovate at roughly 7 times the rate of big businesses, because big businesses can get kind of bureaucratic, and bureaucracies kill innovation over time. So, most Americans start the way I did, in a little company. My husband, Frank, we've been married 30 years. He started out driving a tow truck in a family-owned auto body shop. Family-owned businesses and farms, small businesses and farms, community-based businesses create 2/3 of the new jobs in this country and employ half the people. And guess what? We are crushing them. For the first time in U.S. history, we are now destroying more businesses than we are creating. It is why we're not growing this economy. Growth rates that we've seen over the last 6 years are completely mediocre. They are below the potential of this economy, and it's because we're crushing the engine of economic growth. And why are we crushing it? Because they can't handle the weight of government. Think about Dodd-Frank. You know, the financial crisis hit. Who was responsible for that financial crisis? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We've never reformed them. There were 25 government agencies supposed to be minding the store. We never reformed them. We just passed a new law and created a brand new federal bureaucracy, more money, called the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. But here's the point. When Dodd-Frank was passed, and it was written by the biggest Wall Street banks, among other things, because they hired loads of lobbyists to try and make sure that that law did not disadvantage them. The reality is 10 banks too big to fail on Wall Street became 5 even more powerful banks. And thousands of community banks have gone out of business. Thousands. Because small community banks can't handle the crushing load of the complexity the federal government puts on them. Now, how does that relate to your question? Here's how you grow a company. You have to be excellent at serving your customers. And it is why we should no longer be content with a government that is completely inept at serving the people who pay for it. You have to be excellent at serving your customers. You have to spend every single dollar wisely and well and invest where it is necessary to invest. That's how you grow a company. You know that. Any of you who have to compete, you have to compete hard. And this nation has to compete hard too. We have to fight for every job, because in the 21st century, any job can go anywhere. And we're not competing for our jobs, ladies and gentlemen. When we have the highest tax rate in the world, we're not competing for our jobs. When we tangle people up in this thicket of regulation, we're not competing for every job. When we don't have affordable energy, we're not competing for every job. When we're not educating our young people and we're not retraining our workers, we're not competing for every job.
And finally, a business to grow in addition to serving its customers with excellence, in addition to spending every dollar wisely and well, in addition to competing hard. Finally, a business has to innovate. You can't settle back. You can't say the way we've always done it is always going to be okay, because the world moves on. And so that's one of the other reasons that we have to disentangle this bureaucracy. Think about the importance of innovation. This nation has always led the world because we innovated. We came up with new ways to solve old problems. You know, there are lots of people who say they love innovation, but they never think about or they don't understand what innovation actually is. You know what innovation is? It's risk-taking. And do you know what risk-taking requires? Mistake-making. And the reason bureaucracies crush innovation is because bureaucracies are what? A rules-based, process-intensive, hierarchical organization. And anyone who works in a bureaucracy, no matter how innovative they start out, they get the message pretty quick in a bureaucracy. And the message is follow the rules. Keep your head down. For God's sake, don't make a mistake. If you have a problem that needs your judgment, don't figure it out for yourself. Send it up the line. So, we have to serve the citizens of this nation. We have to spend every dollar wisely and well. We got to compete for every job. And we must be the innovation powerhouse of the world. That's how you grow a company, and that's how we're going to grow this economy. Yes, ma'am. So the question was about Social Security, and obviously the young lady said that Social Security is something that she worries about because she's young, and the same programs are not going to be solvent for her that were for her parents. By the way, all of these conversations that we're having impact your future more heavily than anyone else's. The debts and deficits, an economy that's not growing, a government that's crushing in its weight and its corruption, they affect you more than anyone else. You know, there are realistically binders of good ideas about how to reform Social Security. There are binders full of good conservative ideas about how to reform Social Security. Have you ever noticed how we have this conversation every single election? We have a conversation about Social Security reform every presidential election. And people throw out good ideas, and yet it never happens. It never happens. So here's what I'm going to do. Number one, I will not come to the American people and ask for your judgments about several good ideas about how to reform Social Security until I can demonstrate to the American people that the federal government is competent at its job. Because I don't think it's fair to say to Americans, you know what, we're going to come talk to you about changing a program that we've had to help you, and for a lot of people it's been a contract. We're going to talk about changing that contract, but by the way, we're not doing anything well that we're supposed to be doing. We're not securing the border. We're not spending your money well. We're not doing any of this stuff government is supposed to be doing. It's kind of like saying to somebody, trust me, I can do something really complicated, but meanwhile I'm blowing it on something really basic. Let me give you an example of how bad it is, so you don't think I'm exaggerating. Did you know we have Inspector General's reports that come out every 3 or 4 months? Every 3 or 4 months, like clockwork. Another Inspector General report comes out that says in yet another government agency, you can spend all day long watching pornography online, and you will earn the same pay, pension, and benefits as somebody doing a good job. Really? The latest scandal was that we got a lot of government employees going online to some website where you can go to have an affair. Ashley something. If you know the name, don't say so, because then we'll wonder why. But the point is, really, in any other business, in any other organization, if you spent all day long online on personal business such as that, you would be fired. But no, not in the federal government. Until we can demonstrate that the federal government spends every single dollar of your money wisely and well, that there is consequence for non-performance, that you actually can fire 400 senior executives of the VA if necessary, unless and until we serve our veterans the way they have earned, then I'm not going to come and talk to you about how to reform Social Security. But when we're ready to have that conversation, I will come and talk to you about it. And we'll lay out a set of options, because there are many. And then get out your smartphones, and we're going to have a little conversation about how you feel about those options. The point is, government can't solve complicated problems until government can demonstrate its ability to solve fundamental problems, basic problems. So let's get that done first. Yes, sir.
You've talked a lot about priorities. You've talked a lot about several different issues. In the first 100 days of your presidency, which we know is an important indicator, what are going to be your priorities, and what are the things that you're going to get done and focus on?
Well, it's a great question. So there are three. One, we have to get this economy going and growing again. So in the first 100 days, frankly, there's a lot of stuff that has to get rolled back, undone. You got to undo a bunch of EPA regulations that do nothing to improve the quality of the environment and everything to crush jobs. I would immediately establish a task force of real small business owners, not proxies for small business owners, like real ones, and farmers, and put them in a room and say, tell us the things that are most getting in your way. They know the answer. They know the answer. So there's a whole set of things around the economy and undoing the damage that we're doing to the economy. And you asked about 100 days. So I don't think we can get tax reform done in 100 days, but I might put out for your consideration, complexity favors the big. Complexity favors the wealthy. Complexity favors the powerful, because they can hire the accountants, the lawyers, and the lobbyists to deal with all that complexity. So my blueprint is you got to go from a 73,000-page tax code, which is what we have today, to one that's about 3 pages. So anybody can understand it, and they don't need an accountant. Second priority, we have to start pulling big levers to get this bureaucracy under control. So one of those big levers is to have the conversation about zero-based budgeting. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. Do we need to know where every single dollar is being spent? Another is to actually be able to fire people who aren't doing their jobs. Not because I like firing people, but because it isn't fair to have people who are trying to do a good job sitting next to people who don't care whether they do the job or not. And third, we have a window of opportunity. You know, there are going to be about 200,000+ federal government employees, baby boomers, who are going to retire in the next 4 to 5 years. And so I would make a statement. We will not replace a single one of them. It is a window of opportunity to actually reduce the size of government. Third priority. We got to lead in the world again, folks. The United States of America is a unique nation. We are. We don't have to be the world's policeman always, but we must be the world's leader. And when we do not stand with our allies and we do not confront our adversaries, the world is a very dangerous, tragic place. So I'm going to do some things on day 1 in the Oval Office. Day 1, I will make 2 phone calls. The first will be to my good friend Bibi Netanyahu, to reassure him we will stand with the state of Israel always. The second will be to the Supreme Leader of Iran. He may not take my phone call. He will get the message. The message is New Deal. I don't care what deal you sign with Obama and Kerry, and by the way, Obama and Kerry got rolled at the negotiating table. New Deal. Unless and until you open every military and every nuclear facility to anytime, anywhere inspections for real, by our people, not yours, we, the United States of America, will make it as difficult as possible for you to move money around the global financial system. We can do that. We don't need anyone's permission. We don't need anyone's collaboration, and we must stop the money flow. And those 2 phone calls would send a message loud and clear to every ally we have and every adversary we have that the United States of America is back in the leadership business. I would also hold a Camp David summit in the first 100 days, and I would invite the Jordanians, the Kuwaitis, the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Bahrainis, the Emiratis, and the Kurds, all of whom I know.
And I would say to them, what is it you need from the United States of America to help you defeat ISIS? Because every single one of those people that I just mentioned are fighting ISIS on the ground as we speak, and we are not helping them. The Kurds have asked us to arm them for 3 years. We haven't. I will. The Jordanians have asked us for bombs and materiel. We haven't provided it. I will. The Egyptians have asked us for intelligence. We won't share it. I would. The point is, we can defeat ISIS. Our allies will help us, but we must show leadership, support, and resolve. And finally, I would make it be known. I wouldn't talk to Vladimir Putin, by the way. We've talked way too much to him. But I would aggressively, visibly start rebuilding the Sixth Fleet right under his nose. I'd start rebuilding the missile defense program in Poland. I'd conduct regular military exercises in the Baltic states, and I'd move about 10,000 more troops into Germany, and he would get the message. And I would let it be known that we must have the most powerful military on the face of the planet, and everybody will know it. Those things need to happen in the first 100 days.
Never mind, I can talk loudly. Carly, you're awesome. You want me to be president. I heard you speak at the Global Leadership Summit. You did a great job.
Thank you.
I'm going to be honest with you, though.
Uh-oh, here comes the butt.
Here comes the butt. You can get shit done. Hillary can't get shit done. How can you beat Hillary?
Okay, well, let me just say, you know, Iowans, you take your responsibilities very seriously. You have the first caucus. I mean, you make a big difference here in Iowa. At this time in previous presidential elections, the polls, the pundits, and the money said that Jimmy Carter couldn't win, Ronald Reagan couldn't win, Bill Clinton couldn't win, and Barack Obama couldn't win, and they all started winning here in Iowa. Okay? But you Iowans sometimes play hard to get. You know, you got to see people a lot of times, right? It's okay. I get it. It's all right. But whether or not you've decided you're committed to me, I know every single one of you out there in your heart of hearts, you just cannot wait to see me debate Hillary Clinton. And that's a fact. And you know why? You know why? Because you know I tell it like it is. You remember when I said way back in February, and the media thought it was so mean. That was the word they used, mean. When I said, you know, I too, like Mrs. Clinton, I've flown hundreds of thousands of miles around the globe, but I know that flying is an activity, not an accomplishment. Mrs. Clinton, name an accomplishment. The media thought I was mean. They told me that she had been a Secretary of State, that she had been a senator, that she had been a First Lady, and I said, those are all titles. They're all titles. A title is not an accomplishment. I have been saying for some time publicly, and people said it was such harsh language. I said, you know, Mrs. Clinton lied about Benghazi, about her emails, about her server. And now as more and more and more evidence comes out, the majority of American people know she lied. Here's the point. I can beat her, or, you know, who knows what's going to happen with her. Maybe it's Joe Biden. Maybe it's Bernie Sanders. Maybe it's Elizabeth Warren. Whoever they put up, I can beat them because I will throw every punch we have. And we have a lot of punches to throw. Not in a below-the-belt way, not in an insulting way, in a fact-based way. It is a fact that Mrs. Clinton lied about Benghazi. By any common sense definition of the term, when you know it is a purposeful terrorist attack that evening, and the next morning you get up and talk about a video which does not represent our values, and then 3 days later over the bodies of the fallen you talk about that video again, instead of saying this was a purposeful terrorist attack and we will seek retribution. And yes, Mrs. Clinton, it makes all the difference in the world. So, in a fact-based way, I will lay out for the American people what the impact of these policies is. The fact that Mrs. Clinton says Republicans are waging a war on women, really? You ought to go take a look at an article that came out just the other day. You know, Mrs. Clinton's always talking about equal pay for equal work. Go take a look at how she pays her women staffers on her campaign and what positions they actually hold, and then go look at how I pay my women staffers and the positions they hold. And what you'll find is I have women in higher positions and they are paid better than hers, demonstrating once again that all too often progressives are hypocritical. So that's how I'm going to beat her, but I'm also going to beat her by saying this. We need to move forward in this country. We cannot continue to have partisan battles. Remember, I said 75% of the American people think the federal government is corrupt. That means there's common ground. 82% of the American people think the professional political class has failed you. That's common ground. And so let me close, if I may, with what I believe this nation must be. And I don't think it's a partisan vision at all. I think every day about two of the most powerful symbols of our nation's democracy, Lady Liberty and Lady Justice. And I think they tell us everything about what we can be as a nation. Picture Lady Liberty. She stands tall and strong, which is what America must always be. She is clear-eyed and resolute. She doesn't shield her eyes from the realities of the world, but she also faces out into the world, which is the way we must always face. And she holds her torch high because she knows we are a beacon of hope in a very troubled world. And Lady Justice has a sword by her side because she's a fighter. She's a warrior for the values and the principles that have made this nation great. She holds a scale. And with that scale, she says, all of us are equal in the eyes of God. And therefore, all of us must be equal in the eyes of the law and government, powerful and powerless alike. And she wears a blindfold. With that blindfold, I think she is saying that it must be true. It can be true that in this nation, in this century, it does not matter what you look like. It does not matter who you are. It does not matter how you start. It does not matter your circumstances. Here in this nation, every American's life must be filled with the possibilities that come from their God-given gifts. One nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. Okay, now go caucus for me.
Oh, all right. That was Carly Fiorina from earlier today. I'm excited to share with you that I have some Bernie Sanders from earlier. Unfortunately, our satellite feed was interrupted by a car going into a swimming pool. So it's not the complete Bernie Sanders speech, but I have some for you. And I say this because I like to bring you both sides, a Republican and a Democrat. So let me pull up Bernie Sanders for you. Give me a few minutes. This is not in my in the typical way that I save my videos. Car going into swimming pool. Oh, sure. Let's just watch that. It looks like this is a little, as far as quality, a little sketchy. If you can't stand it, let me know and I'll switch it. What is this? Oh, this is the car in the swimming pool? I don't want to watch the car in the swimming pool. Oh no. Oh no. Give me 2 seconds. Bernie. Then car in swimming pool. Now tell me if it's too fuzzy for you, and I will cut out and we'll watch something else. But this is not how I typically save my videos. Usually they're in a better quality, but I had to save it differently to pull it for you so quickly.
The answer, I don't think anybody does. You guys know more about this than I do, and I just don't know the answer. What I will say, and let me repeat, is that if I've known Joe for a number of years, we served in the Senate obviously together, and everybody knows Joe Biden to be a very, very decent guy. And if Joe gets in, my pledge to him, as it has been to Secretary Clinton and to everybody else, is that we're going to focus on the major issues facing the American people. I do not believe in, personal attacks. I do not believe in saying, I'm great, everybody else is terrible, vote for me. Just not my style. So Joe has a lot to say, and if he gets into the race, we look forward to a strong issue-oriented campaign. Yes, sir. Peter.
Senator, you said that the Democratic Party can't afford to practice establishment politics, mainstream politics.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone in mind when, in the sense of your Democratic rivals or
Look,
practicing politics?
I'll let you use your imagination on that, Peter. Look, this is what I mean, and thanks for the question. And this is what I mean sincerely. If I don't know how many of you have been to some of the events that we have done around the country, but if you go to the events, whether it's in Iowa, whether it's in New Hampshire, but the events we had in the West Coast, events we had here. I mean, the first major event we had was right here in Minneapolis. I couldn't believe it. I don't know, 5,000, 6,000 people showed up. We were totally overwhelmed by the number of people who showed up. Most of the people, vast majority of the people who come out are not active participants in the Democratic Party. They're just ordinary people. I suspect a number of them have not voted terribly often in the past. Many of them have. I suspect they have voted Democratic. But for us to do well, for us, the Democrats, to win the White House, retain the White House, take back the Senate, do well in the House, and by the way, win governor's races all over this country and state legislative races, we need to substantially increase voter turnout. Everybody knows that. As I said in my speech, Republicans didn't win in November. Democrats lost, and the Democrats lost because the voter turnout was abysmally low. So what I'm suggesting, and what I'm saying and what I believe in my heart, is that based on what I have seen going around the country, we were just in New Hampshire the other day. We go to small towns, Littleton, over 1,000 people are coming out. Had a meeting Monday morning in Conway, New Hampshire, 650 people coming out. We are bringing out people who are not necessarily actively involved in politics. They are people who are concerned about the future of this country. I believe they're responding to the message that we're offering them. And I think that you're looking at a candidate who can substantially increase voter turnout all over this country. And that will impact not just the race for the presidency, but races for the Senate, for the House, and governor's seats. If there is a large voter turnout, Democrats will do well. If there is a small voter turnout, Republicans will win. Dan?
Sir, why do you believe, as you apparently do, that Secretary Clinton is not able to generate that kind of excitement or a large turnout in that way?
Well, as I've said a million times, I'm not here during this campaign to be attacking Secretary Clinton. I'll let you be the judge of that. I think, objectively speaking, that the kind of excitement that we have generated in this campaign, the huge turnouts that we have seen, the number of volunteers, the number of campaign contributors that we have, all of in the last 3.5 months, I think it is fair to say that from an objective point of view, I am not objective, I can see that, but from an objective point of view, I think it is fair to say that the energy, the excitement, and the momentum is with our campaign right now. And I think the other thing, Dan, that you're going to see, and I'm not, polls are polls, some of them are good, some of them are not good, and it's early in the political world, in the campaign cycle, to be talking about polls. But you're seeing those polls become, in many cases, closer and closer. We started, go back, Dan, check out the early polls. We were at 3 or 4%. That's what we were 3 or 4 months ago. Now we're in 25, 30% nationally. We're winning in New Hampshire and so forth. Yes, sir.
How would you deal with Native Americans asking the federal government to honor the treaty rights of 1885 in Minnesota, Dakotas, and other places where they harvest wild rice, and they don't want tar sands?
Well, I don't want tar sands in general. All right. And as I mentioned in the speech, you're looking at somebody who has helped lead the effort against the Keystone Pipeline. So I don't know all of the details, but I think it is fair to say that in general, we don't have to say it, no one will deny that the way the United States government has treated Native people is shameful. All right, maybe a couple of more questions, sir.
Yes, Senator, there's a report today in Bloomberg that Secretary Clinton already has 60% of all the superdelegates that are out there. What efforts have you made along those lines, and what does that mean this early in the game?
Well, two things. Number one, I think it's fair to say that we'll probably win most of our delegates in the struggle by state by state. And I think we're off to a pretty good start. I think we're doing well in New Hampshire. I think you're going to see us do better in Iowa. We're finally, again, we're only in this thing 3.5 months. And, 2 months ago, I think we had maybe 2 people on our campaign in Iowa. Now we have many people, so we're organizing. And I think you're going to see us, we had a great trip to South Carolina. We're going to focus on Nevada as well. So I think you're going to see us do well. But in terms of superdelegates, let me say this. The people in here are smart people. They're not dummies. They want to see a Democrat win the White House. And I understand that, Secretary Clinton's people have been talking to these folks for a very, very long time. So she has a huge advantage over us in that respect. Not to say that there are a lot of people there who are supportive of her. But I think as our campaign progresses and as people see us do better and better, you're going to see a lot of superdelegates. I just met with one as I was walking in here 10 minutes ago who said, well, you swayed me. I'm on your side now. I think you're going to see that. So it's one thing for people to say, well, I'm with the secretary today. We'll see where people will be 3 months from now or 5 months from now. Yes, sir.
When you're having those kinds of conversations with superdelegates, how much of it is an electability issue? You have to convince them that you can win next year?
Yeah, I think that's very important. No question about it. Look, at the end of the day, people will say, we like you and, we agree with a lot of your ideas, but can you win? And what I would say, what has impressed me, and let me reiterate this. When you read polls, read the last line in the polls. I'll go down to some little detail there, and you'll find that, how many of you don't know who Secretary Clinton is? Very few people. 95% of the people know who Secretary Clinton is. How many of you don't know who Bernie Sanders is? Depending on the poll, 20, 30, 40%. And yet, regardless of that, in some of the polls that have been out there, including just one the other day, we are defeating, on a one-to-one matchup, a number of Republicans. So we are, defeating Trump or Bush or whatever. I think we were losing the last poll to Rubio by 1 point. And that's with a lot of people not knowing who I am. So I think the issue of electability, can we win this election? Can we defeat the Republicans? I think the answer is becoming more and more clear that we can. Dan? Well, we've. Well, first of all, just from a legal point of view, so let me be clear. Howard Dean, myself, Patrick Leahy, nobody can register as a Democrat, as you know, in the state of Vermont. I vote in the Democratic primaries. I have helped elect some Democratic governors in the state of Vermont. I have been a member of the Democratic caucus from virtually the first day I was in the House and throughout my 9 years in the Senate. I was, as you know, the chairman of the Veterans Committee. I'm now the ranking member on the Democratic side in the Budget Committee. I had to make a decision, as you all know, many, many, many months ago, as to whether I would run for president as an independent or run as a Democrat. I made the decision to run within the Democratic primary and caucus as a Democrat. I think that was exactly the right decision. I can't tell you that every supporter of mine agrees with that, but I think the vast majority of them do. And the campaign is going very, very well.
Just one follow-up. Is this the first time you addressed the DNC meeting?
Pardon me? Yes.
This is the first time. And what conventions have you been to?
In 2008, when Obama was nominated in Denver. Okay, maybe one more. Anything else? Yes, sir.
There's been some buzz from some Democrats that weren't supporting you about your gun control policies. I've heard over the last couple of days since what happened in Virginia on Wednesday.
Sure.
A lot of talk from Hillary Clinton, a lot of talk from Martin O'Malley about we need more gun control measures. Why haven't we talked about this the last few days?
Well, guns are a huge issue, and gun violence in this country is a huge issue, and all of us, taken aback by this horrible shooting on camera of two journalists. And, we've seen what has gone on, in South Carolina and Charleston. Unbelievable stuff. So this is a very, very important issue. So let me just reiterate what I hope all of you know. And I know there's some stuff going around that I'm, some kind of a gun nut and so forth and so on. It ain't true. I come from a state that has virtually no gun control. That's the way it is in my state. And we have, tens of thousands of people who are hunters and so forth and so on. But despite that, hunters, they do target practice, they go to gun shows. But despite that, you are looking at a congressman and a senator who voted, and it was not an easy vote for me, coming from the state that I come, to ban a number of semi-automatic assault weapons. That's the way I voted. Who voted for instant background checks, and who voted to close the gun show loophole so that people could not avoid the instant background check. And I am open to other ideas. Here's the point, though, that I've made time and time again. Do we need to make sure that people who should not own guns do not own guns? And the answer is unequivocally yes. We have got to do that. But I think just people shouting at each other and going nowhere in a hurry and trying to address that issue is not doing anybody any good. And in fact, I think I could play a good role in that debate, because the people of Vermont do understand, people in New Hampshire do understand, that guns in our states, in rural states, mean different things to people than guns in urban states where kids are getting killed every single day. So I think I can play a positive role, and we are prepared to do that. All right, we got a plane to catch. Thank you all very, very much. Take care.
Where did he just go? No wonder we go straight to like a car in a pool. What's happening? Ryan comments, well, that was an awkward ending. I have a plane to catch. Bye. Up, car and pool. Car in pool. Let me take down that lower third because we are now at car and pool. It's a bad day for somebody. These stories, I hear a lot of these. Oh, look at this. Is kind of fun. You can see what's going on. That's over there of me. And you can see me and what's over there of me. Isn't that fun? We call this spying in the newsroom. Lower third. Brian did not like the audio on that car and pool. They stayed on the car and pool for a really long time, too. Well, I guess if we actually saw it being pulled out of the pool, that would be interesting, but there we didn't get that. Spy hour with Kinsey. Yeah, Bernie was ready to go. Rets to go. Let's see what other stories do I have for you this evening. Got some stories from our evening broadcast that I will show you now. Our afternoon broadcast. This is from the 5.
really rough start to the school year at Maricopa High School. A football player there lost his life a week ago in a crash.
Tonight, a moment of silence for Nate Ford before the season opener. He would have been on the field tonight. Nicole Garcia live with the special tribute. Nicole?
That's right, guys. It's definitely going to be a very emotional football game tonight. Nate Ford was a starting linebacker for the Maricopa Rams. Now, the game doesn't begin for another couple hours, but students have been busy adorning the stands here with posters honoring their fallen football player. Right before tonight's game begins, there is going to be a moment of silence for Nate. He was killed last week when his pickup truck collided with a semi that was hauling cattle. Now, Nate was homeschooled, but he played on the athletic teams for Maricopa High School. He played baseball, and this would have been his first year on the football team. He was very popular on this campus. Students, again, gathering today to make posters, a lot of posters honoring Nate. His teammate members say that Nate was a motivator. He was always encouraging his teammates and always giving his teammates attaboys. I spoke with a booster parent who says the football team has had its highs and its lows this past week, and tonight's they plan to honor Nate in several different ways.
We have good moments and bad moments, but we're looking forward to the game tonight. We're looking forward to the kind of the moment of remembrance before kickoff. They are going to kind of retire his jersey tonight. One of the really cool things we just heard was that Agua Fria, our opponent for tonight, is going to wear 42 on their helmet.
And 42 was Nate's jersey number. The game begins tonight at 7 o'clock. Gates open at 5:30, and the stands are expected to be packed with supporters. Reporting live in Maricopa, I'm Nicole Garcia, Fox 10 News.
Thank you for that, Nicole.
And I am just doing this so you can see we're still spying in the newsroom. But we're going to transition over to another story from this afternoon, monsoon cleanup.
We're getting a better look at some of the strong storms that moved through the valley yesterday. A Fox 10 viewer capturing this. This is a gust-nado. Looks like a tornado, but it's not quite. It's a short-lived gust-nado coming out of the clouds. This is in the far west valley near Verado.
Well, trees and power lines down, even some street flooding. Last night's monsoon left behind a path of destruction from Tempe to Phoenix to Buckeye.
There's only a few weeks of the official monsoon season left, but this whole thing is closing out with a bang, isn't it? Andrew Hasman is here with a look at some of that damage, especially out in the West Valley.
And they are still cleaning up right now, Troy and John. We're going to take you to an area in the Southwest Valley just outside of Buckeye. It's called Rainbow Valley. And as we zoom in on the map here, take you right into the small neighborhood. There's a school in the neighborhood and a lot of homes. This area got hit with over 1.5 inches of rain during yesterday's storm. A busy morning cleaning up for the crew at Rainbow Valley Elementary.
A really good storm last night. It hit us.
The school sent us photos of the flooded streets. Hail busted out a window on a teacher's car.
We lost 10 trees. One of them that we lost was what's called a memory tree that was planted in honor of some children that were lost in a house fire several years ago. So the staff is pretty devastated this morning by the loss of that tree. We also lost an air conditioning unit because some of the debris that was flying around cut the lines. And then we lost some flashing off the side of our gym.
When the storm rolled through, the school gym was packed for a volleyball game.
The wind was getting so bad that the rain was coming in through the side vents and it was starting to puddle up on the ground.
Visibility was zero. We couldn't see anything out of the windows. The power went out about 20 minutes into it. We just kind of sat on everybody until the rain let up.
The storm pummeled the neighborhood around the school. The wind sent a backyard fence flying into the desert. We spotted a trampoline in the middle of the road. The metal covering on a dairy farm partially collapsed.
My kids say, "Oh, Mama, look, everything is flooded away."
According to the county flood control district, the Rainbow Valley area picked up more than 1 3/4 inches of rain during the storm.
I'm just glad everything's okay because this here was full of water. The road was just like a river.
And as far as we have heard, no reports of any serious injuries. I'm Andrew Hasman, Fox 10 News.
Thank you, Andrew. But there was a mess all over. It wasn't just the West Valley. Before the sun rose, workers in Phoenix were already busy cleaning up. This is at 48th Street in Washington. So again, you can see a lot of trees that were down there. Crews clearing that debris from the roads, trying to get them ready for the morning commute.
Every year about this time, we get a lot of damage, and we just have to come out here and make sure that we can just keep everything safe for everybody.
Workers out there at 3 a.m. cleaning up this damage.
There was one particular area in Tempe that was especially hard hit. Check this out. This is the Lake subdivision near Baseline and Rural. Several big trees fell right onto a home. Anita Roman spoke to the homeowner as cleanup started this morning.
I don't know what's underneath it because it's just you can't see. The pool is just totally covered.
John Centel describes the condition of his home and yard as a disaster. 4 massive pine trees toppled over, blanketing nearly the entire property.
Took the end of the house off over on the other side and took all the trees down, including the lakes, and then just a lot of damage.
Yeah, the only way to get in, actually, excuse me, the firefighters had to cut a little entryway in so they could get in.
Around 4:30 Thursday evening, right after the monsoon, neighbors started calling Centel to tell him his trees were down. Even though he was warned as he drove home, he never imagined this.
I thought, I hope it's a small tree in the front, not the 100-footers. But anyway,
and so
they're all gone. That's what it looks like.
The front yard where the pool sits looks even worse. Part of the roof is gone.
It's one of these disasters, that happens.
The homeowner tells us he hasn't confirmed it, but he's pretty sure a microburst is behind all of this damage.
This came directly across this way because the trees all came this way, just right on through that way.
Crews started cleanup as soon as Centel received word from his insurance company.
They're going to be done maybe by tomorrow.
Centel, who built the house in 1979, says the only time he's seen devastation like this before was on TV. He's just happy neither he nor his wife were home when it hit, and that both are okay. Anita Roman, Fox 10 News.
A lot going on to stay up to date when weather strikes. A great way to do it is downloading our free Fox 10 News weather app. It is online.
Perfectly.
Brian, wait. Hey.
That's Brian, the web producer. Behind me is John Hook. John Hook. Troy Hayden. Nicole. JD.
I may try. I haven't seen her in like 2 years.
Troy Hayden. John Hook.
Troy,
Yes.
come say hi to the people. They're right here. It's like right here.
Pressure.
Hello, people.
Isn't it weirder this way?
I like this.
It's so strange.
It's like it's not shaded quite right. It's like foggy. But this is better. I remember I told you I thought we should do some stuff
Oh, I
from
was
here.
just copying you. Yeah, I was just copying you.
This is cool. And you can kind of get a little piece of the action of what's going on. I think it'd be kind of nice to have this whole thing behind you with that.
Yeah, sometimes JD gets paranoid though, and he's like, "Why is that camera out on me?" And I'm like, "Cause you're so handsome, JD."
He is. He's a good-looking young man.
Yeah, he reminds me of Charlie Brown.
Why?
His demeanor,
Oh.
or Eeyore.
No, he's much more upbeat. Those are two downer people. I think John's very upbeat. I like him. And
I like him.
You guys. So thank you for tuning in.
That was riveting. Thank you. Glenn, come here. Come here. I need to ask you something. Glenn, what do you do here?
You're not very sneaky. You're not nearly as sneaky as you want yourself to be. I'm a director. I also have a beard. The beard is the big deal.
What is the most riveting story you've ever been in a newsroom for? So it could be 9/11, it could be Katrina, 10 years of Katrina.
Unfortunately, I'm still relatively new to the whole news world. I've been here for about a year.
So Donald Trump is the answer.
Donald Trump was pretty exciting. That was pretty exciting. I know, Kinsey, you did a great job covering Donald Trump when he was here and everything, and that was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
That's so sweet of you.
I mean, I only tell the truth. So.
You have to. Look at that beard.
Exactly.
Glenn and I hang out.
It's true. We do.
And we've hung out once.
That counts.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I can get Richard. Richard!
He's more excited than me. Hi, everybody.
I need you. Glenn's making fun of me. He says I'm having a slow day, but I consider it being experimental. Don't you?
I like this angle.
Yeah.
You stand, you can,
You can dance. Like, welcome to Fox 10 News Now.
This is cool. And you got the mic here. Oh, wait. Sorry, no cord. I better go before I break something.
Bye. No, I'll probably get. Yes.
You let? You just walk off while you're on?
Well, I was gonna jump back up there, but I
Oh.
mean, I guess I could have Dave Muncie come and stand and give me a weather update.
Dave could. He's got jokes and everything.
He's always got jokes. He should have been a comedian.
So what made you go with this angle here? I kind of like
Well,
it.
Troy mentioned that we should do it a while ago, but I always
He's
do this.
always
I always
full
do
of
this
good
thing
ideas.
called spying on the newsroom, where I always turn this.
Oh yeah.
And people kind of like it. So I thought, what if I stood here?
Okay.
And then I like to just stay here and tap
There's-
people on the head.
Right. I
Tap,
kind of
tap,
pick
tap.
his nose.
Tap,
Good
tap.
breath. Oh, wait, this way.
But this is a professional.
Oh yes, absolutely.
This is what's happening tonight in sports.
Last day of Cardinals camp. They're wrapping up camp, so that's a
yeah.
lot of fun.
Are you
know.
sad you're not going to get to see my guy anymore every day?
Oh, I'll see him still.
But not every day.
That's true. Almost every day though, because now it's football season, so we'll be over there. It'll be in Tempe instead of Glendale, so that's kind of cool because I live in the East
Where
Valley,
do they
so it's
play
easier
in
to drive.
Tempe?
They practice. Their
Oh.
training facilities in Warner and Hardy. So
Oh,
it's like right there. So
I think I used to live on Hardy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, you were meant to cover the Cardinals.
It's
But the
true.
players are happy because they get to sleep in their own beds. So they're like,
Why do
"Ooh."
they live over there?
Why do they have their training camp over there?
Yeah.
Well, they used to have it in Flagstaff, and it was kind of cool because you get up there, you get out of the heat and stuff, but then their contract expired with NAU, Northern Arizona University. So like, hey, we got this stadium, it's air conditioned, and it's right here. Why not, have our training camp there? And then fans kind of liked it because, one, they don't have to drive all the way to Flagstaff. Two, they can watch it in the AC, watch practice. And two, or three or four, whatever, some fans can't afford to go to a game. And these practices are free. So they get to see
$3.99.
they get to see what the stadium's like.
That's
and
cool.
Yeah, and then I think it's kind of smart for the Cardinals because then you get to see the stadium for practice. Like, man, I wouldn't mind being here for a game, and then you want to
Right.
come for a game.
Yeah.
So I like it. There's good and bad things because it was cool when we were up there in Flagstaff because you're kind of away, you're up there, it's just you
It's
and the
almost
team.
like bonding.
Yeah.
Like when you go to summer camp.
And as far as coverage-wise, we would go up there with a live truck, and we were kind of out of sight, out of mind. Here, if we have a live truck or one of our Avenires, and something happens locally here in Phoenix,
You
it's
have
like,
to
oh,
get
we'll
up
just
and
take
go.
the truck from sports. You know what I mean? So before there, nobody would mess with us and stuff. So I kind of
And you could wear like swaggy long sleeve
yeah,
shirts.
exactly. I used to love it. I'd be up there with like a windbreaker, and everybody here is like sweating, and I was
Yeah.
like by a fireplace at the hotel. So
I love
that was a lot of fun.
That's a great life. Unfortunately, it's over.
I know. All good things must come to an end, I guess. But I think the Cardinals are going to be good. I really do.
I've heard that.
I think they're going to have a good year. They just need to stay healthy. And of course, Sunday's game is the closest you get to a regular season game because the starters play more than normal. Because the last
Why
game,
is that?
because they know, because by now each team knows who their
their
main guys
rock
are.
stars are?
Yeah. So the last game is usually for guys that are on the bubble and just trying to make the team, and you don't want to get your main guys hurt before you start playing for keeps. So the main guys, the starters, will play for about a half. But I think if the Cardinals do well offensively and score touchdowns like on their first 3 drives, they'll pull out their main guys even before the half.
Interesting.
So-
I heard something funny about you.
Oh.
Jude
This is getting
LaCava
interesting.
told us what what your fantasy football name
The
was.
Chimichangas, yes.
Oh, is that what it is?
Did he tell you something
That's
else?
not what he said.
Well,
he said it was
running for president?
He said it was the presidential candidate.
Yes, so now I had to change my name.
Yeah. Well, everybody thought you
these- that's
invented it.
Well, I had to put, that's why, to let people know I invented, I put the original These Nuts. So, yes.
Well, I hope you win.
Well, I am the defending champion, by the way.
With a
I'm a
team
bit of a
name like that.
dynasty.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
like Bush.
If I knew the stock market like I knew fantasy football,
You'd be making it rain.
I wouldn't be here right now. I mean, we wouldn't be. We'd be like in my limo, just cruising around
Just
for
doing
fun.
just circles on the 101.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, well, I'll let you go now. Thanks
Okay.
for standing and talking to me. I guess I should go sit back down so I can see what you guys are saying. Look, there's Troy. I'm going to poke him. Poke. Now let's get back to our chatters. Don't look at how I didn't curl the back of my hair, please. Please don't look at that. Glenn walked away and he was like, slow news day. It's not a slow news day. Maybe I'm just trying to be creative. You don't know my life, Glenn. Oh, here's my wrapper from yesterday. That's embarrassing. I should throw that away. Poor Samia. So, let me... Oh, there's Jordy. He's sleeping. Let's see if I can get Jordy to come say hi. Jordy, come say hi. Please. You can say hi for 2 seconds. You could just... All you're saying is hi.
To what? The camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my mom. She watches.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Okay, but I do only have 2 seconds.
Okay, say hi, everyone. I'm Jordy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jordy.
Cool.
This is a reach out to Kenzie's mom, I hear. So, hi, Kenzie's mom.
All right, you can go do your job
Okay,
now. Thank you. I'm going to show you the weather while I'm going to show you weather graphics while I go back and read your comments and see what fun things you said to me while I was on the other side.
He's got doubt. He's aggressive. He's got doubt. Everything that seemed easy a month ago is not going. Every shot where he's just aiming the flag, it's going good. Now, he doesn't know where.
Oh, there's Brian. Brian chiming in on the chat room.
Because then you don't know what's going on.
That we are looking at a weather alert, so it looks like we are tracking Erica. If that's much more serious than what I'm doing, but I am taking a look at your comments, so I apologize. Bina, oh my God, Kinsey. I love it so much.
That I would block something in and it would be mine. I can say that's it. Got it. It's done.
There are so many sweet comments that I'm looking through, so I apologize. Spy cam, John Hook. Oh my God, Brian, I love you, says Gio.
You can start to get a swing that's your own, and you got to figure out. The key is to know when you're missing what you're doing. Not need a guy, because your guy is going to be on enforcement. You got to figure out how to drive.
Don't get fired now, says Ale. I know, yeah, that's a good point.
Every 2 weeks is like that. Yeah. That's a good idea. I mean, yeah, once you start to get the swing that you want, and you just think I can do that from the plane that you want.
Sorry that I couldn't see these comments and questions while I was on the other side, but all the other computers were still facing the wall.
Yeah, same kind of deal. Seeing you on Hawaii, was it like? Well, I have,
I told her to come by.
Kim's coming back, hopefully. She was in Hawaii. She's in Hawaii.
This is really weird. My Facebook is going
Carrie took pictures as she was capturing Erica on the way back to the visa. Well, yeah, she missed it. Can't the kids go for the iPad if you want?
Well, there's not much to do now.
Yeah. What's going on? It's not loading up. Yeah, it's not loading. It's loading other stuff.
I feel bad because I'm just mesmerized by the comments. Richard is so cute, Joni, you're right. And can I marry Jordy? Please, dear Leo, I will absolutely be sure to pass on that message to Jords. My Jordy. I love Jordy. If he knew these comments were coming in like this, he would have stayed for a much longer period of time. I can assure you. D. So sweet. He is. I totally concur with all of these comments. Can I show you my pen? Sure. But the more important tools I have here are my lip balm with a mirror, and can you see that there's light on it? Hey, can I interview you? Come on. Rob said no. I tried to give you a parade. Come, just say hi. Why you look like Dawson from Dawson's Creek right now?
Because I got a new hairdo going on. I call it the hipster wave.
Well, we'll just talk about Dawson's Creek. It was your favorite show.
I have to finish my package.
You can't just wave at the camera and say hey.
I don't like cameras.
But you look just like Ryan Gosling.
No, I don't. I wish.
Gerard, that's right, Bina. That was Rob that I was talking to. Rob is about to be a dad. His wife's really beautiful, and he's really handsome, so they are going to make a magic baby. Carrie's actually not here right now. Carrie is in Jamaica. She's been on vacation. Am I allowed to say that? She'll probably tell you that. She spends a lot of time there. That was Rob. Rob just doesn't like being on camera. He likes to be behind the camera. And I keep seeing Dave, and I'll grab Dave because Dave will give us an update on the weather. I know he's probably, I've seen him like running around. I'm sure he's running around because it's a big weather night, so he's probably busy with that. I keep looking through my stories, trying to see if there's anything like lighthearted. Oh, this is cute. Why don't we watch this one?
He's not a boxer training for a fight. He's a 93-year-old Al Savitz, who, yes, jumps rope.
I try to do 700 jumps each time.
A World War II veteran, former history teacher, and New York City school principal.
I watched first graders jumping rope, and I said, if they can do it, I can do it.
That was 35 years ago. Since then, he's added jumping rope to his daily routine.
Move it forward, okay?
His workout consists of 15 minutes jumping rope, bicycle, and weights.
I come here usually about 1:30. I work out for about an hour. By the time I get out of here, it's like an hour and a half.
Not only does he have great coordination for his age, his sense of humor is also intact.
And I just saw when you were jumping rope, everyone here was clapping for you. It's like you're a celebrity here at the gym.
Well, that's because I tip them regularly.
He jumps rope a couple of 100 times a day, so I had to put myself to the test.
And I'm in heels.
He has many blown away, including his own family.
He puts me to shame, actually, and he's always been very difficult for me to keep up with.
He's a good inspiration to me, and I would say a lot of other people too.
Al jumps rope 700 times a day. He's trying to get to 1,000 by his 94th birthday, which is coming up in February. In Freehold, I'm Jessica Formoso, Fox 5 News.
Cute story. Who in the chat room? Oh, Rachel says that there's an older man at her gym who's extremely buff. That's nice. He's sweet. I like him. What other comments did I like in the chat room that I saw? Rachel, I will absolutely give John Hook a hug for you. I give him a hug every day. Sometimes we take pictures too because we match a lot. Let's see here.
Okay, I'm sending it out in the ether.
Oh, so everyone that's watching right now should go to John Hook's Facebook page.
Are you on right now?
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think I do around here?
Well, I never know if you're in a video or you're live or...
I'm here for you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Rachel wanted me to give you a hug and tell you that she loves you. And I intended on doing it anyway.
Are you going to give me the hug right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rachel loves you and so do I.
I love Rachel. She's a sweetheart.
She is. There, wait, they need to see your face. What if it was Troy?
It's me. Hope you guys are well. Have a great weekend.
And everybody should look at your Facebook and like you on Facebook.
Yeah, I have a very, I don't want to call it a provocative question, or would you call it a provocative question?
I think it's a great question.
I really want to know, sincerely want to know, so check it out.
Facebook.com/JohnHookFox10. If you don't like him on Facebook yet, well, what are you doing here? So it's actually a requirement to participate in our chat that you like John Hook on Facebook. Hi. It's Friday. We have 10 minutes to go. I've been
No, it says it loaded, but I don't see it.
Let's see if it loaded. You know what? Troy's been uploading some interesting videos to Facebook too. We could take a look at those. Sometimes it takes a second to process. It just takes a second to process, John.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. Let's take a look at his funny post from earlier tonight. I thought this was a cute post by John Hook. He says, "This I have never seen before. A totally empty Starbucks at 7:12 Friday night. Must be a full moon. Empty Starbucks. Transition to full moon." Adorable. He is precious. We're going to take a look at Troy's too. Okay. We're waiting for John's Facebook page to load, or his video to load, but while we wait for his video to load, let's take a look at Troy Hayden's Facebook page.
Well, first of all, let's acknowledge the fact that he stole my photo and didn't credit me on it, okay? That was my picture that I snapped. And he's like, oh, I'm going to post this adorable photo and not credit Kinsey. Here, this is interesting. Let's watch what Troy has to say in regards to the shooting in Virginia. I'm going to remove my face.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on this shooting this morning, and it hit me pretty hard for a number of reasons. And please, while you're watching this, feel free to comment, and I'll try to respond to some of your comments if I can. But I just want to relate some of my personal feelings on this. Allison Parker and Adam Ward, reporter and photographer, out on a live shot today. And they're just doing their jobs, and a disgruntled employee who had been gone for 2 years from the station apparently still had some sort of a deranged grudge, but you can't get into motivations on this, came back and ended up shooting them in the middle of a live shot. So the first thing that came into my mind is, and I'm just bringing this up because I like to share things like this on Facebook, but I remember, it seems like yesterday, that I relate more to Allison because I was a reporter. And I remember being a young 20-something reporter, and I was in a smaller market. I was in Eureka, California, up on the coast. It was market 186, a little tiny market. And it just, at that point in your life, so much of your life is ahead of you, and so much of your career is ahead of you. And I remember just living and breathing news. We only had 2 stations up there. We were all in our early 20s, and I'm saying our station, we only had 5 people in our newsroom. We had 5 people in our newsroom, and then we had one other station across the street, and they had like 5 or 6 people in their newsroom, and we all knew each other, and we all hung out, and it was a really nice environment to learn in. I mean, we would have pizza parties where we would get together on the weekends after working all week, and we'd all sit around and watch each other's work. And we'd critique each other's work. I mean, that's where you are. We were all just so young and so excited that we had made it onto television after working so hard in college and internships and all those things.
Hi.
Yes, hi, how are you, Salmi?
Are you shooting? Oh.
I'm live right now on Facebook. I'll be off in just a couple minutes.
Okay. Do you want to join us on?
I will, in just a minute. I'll be on News Now in just a second. So, to me, it was so sad because I just remember that point in my life, and it was just such a great time. And your whole life is ahead of you professionally and personally. And then when I heard that both of them were involved with people at the station, that happens too. I mean, in our case, we were up in a strange city, Eureka, and you're just all kind of thrown up there, and you all are pretty much young and single, and you have the same interests, and you end up dating people that you work with, and you end up knowing people, and those are your peers. I mean, to this day, I still am in contact with a couple of people up there out of those few people I worked with up there. So that's one thing, and it just makes me so sad because everything got cut short the way it did. The other thing is, there's been a lot of discussion about live shot safety, and should we have security guards out with people. I know in the Bay Area they've had a lot of people, a lot of news crews getting ripped off their equipment, and we had a strong arm robbery not that long ago where somebody pistol whipped a photographer and took their gear. And there's been thoughts about, well, should we have crews out in the field? And I say absolutely yes. Now, we're not war correspondents. We're not out on the front lines and we're getting bombed and those sorts of things. But you know, we do have a responsibility as journalists to be out on these scenes. For the most part, they're very safe. You can't learn about stories, and you can't relay information in a timely way if you're not out on those scenes. The vast majority of live shots are very, very safe, just like the one was this morning. I mean, these two people, Allison and Adam, were not in a bad situation. They were not in a spot where they shouldn't have been. They weren't at some bad crime scene or in the middle of a riot and putting themselves in harm's way. It was just one of those things where I almost feel it's more of a workplace shooting. So when people say to me, should we do away with live shots, I say absolutely not. I mean, we know that we're all taking a risk. I've been attacked before on live shots. One instance was a very, very sad scene. It was a child drowning. We were at the hospital. We weren't in anybody's house. We weren't in anybody's way. We weren't even taking pictures of anything. And a grieving father who had to be out of his mind came and attacked my photographer and myself, and we had to defend ourselves. You know, I was embedded with a SWAT, a gang enforcement team, and we raided a party where there was a gang activity going on, and there were shots fired right by us, and I hit the floorboards of the car we were in. You know, some of the things we do are dangerous, and we do accept a certain amount of risk. So again, I don't want to be going around. Do we have security guards out there in the field? I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if it should happen. You know, should we stop doing live shots? I say absolutely not. To me, this is more of a workplace disgruntled employee shooting, and I think the conversation should go: how do we identify people who may be unstable and fire them in a way where they're not going to come back and try to get the boss or try to get coworkers? And I don't know if you'll ever have the answer to that. I mean, we're not psychologists here. I'm a journalist. HR people aren't psychologists. Maybe that's the big issue. So thanks for watching. Please keep your comments coming. I have to go over to news now, but I'll get back. I'll answer all these comments, or read them for sure, as I get back to my desk. So thank you for watching, and my thoughts on the shooting today.
Sweet Troy, it's interesting to hear what he has to say about, I actually hadn't heard him talk about it, so that's the first time I'd heard him talk about it too. And it's so sad to revisit that story. Let's see if John Hook's video has posted yet. There's my buddy. Here we go. Although that's not the best screen grab. We might have to work with him on finding a better screen grab.
Hey guys, I wanted to post this on Facebook because I don't think writing it would really reflect how I feel about this. I want to be sincere about this question. I want to know if you are Latino or Hispanic and live here and are legal here. You were born here, your family's from here, many generations here, whatever the story. I want to know how you feel about illegal immigration. Because people have said and told me that if they are here legally, they have found this whole issue to be a real burden for them. And I want to know if that's true or not. So let me know what you think. I can't wait to hear. Thanks.
Troy, just walking off, getting ready for that 9 p.m. show. It's 9 o'clock, which means you have to turn on.
Do you know where your children are?
You have to turn on your local television broadcast of Fox 10 News at 9. The dynamic duo is at it again. It's going to be John Hook and Troy Hayden. John Hook is tripping over himself getting into the studio right now. He's putting on his professional broadcasting outfit. Every suit is custom made to fit him and his personal style. He's waving at me like Miss America. If you're local, you can watch our broadcast on Channel 10. If you're not local, you can head over to fox10phoenix.com. Huh?
Play-by-play over there.
Yeah. I really should have been a sports broadcaster. The ball is on the other side of the thing. Get it in the hoop. Touchdown, score, goal. If you're local, you can watch Channel 10. If you're not local, you can head on over to fox10phoenix.com. You should download our app. It's free, and it's probably one of the best places to watch our live streaming services. Follow us on Twitter. We're a hoot. Well, we're not a hoot, but we'll keep you updated on news. And you should like us on Facebook. I'm Kinsey Schofield. This is Fox 10 News Now, and I have an announcement. I will be doing the morning and afternoon show on Monday, so you'll get to hang out with me on Monday. Additionally, I might be introducing you to a new member of the Fox 10 News Now team, which I always think is exciting. I don't even know if that was a secret or not, but I bet it was, and I already told you. See, I told you I can't keep secrets.
But yeah, so Monday I'm working dayside, and I will bring you. I'll get that the new person on camera. I will. I can't hold secrets in. I'm gonna show you them. And Princess waved to Rachie too. Bye, Billy. Yes, there is a new FNN member. We've got a new personality coming aboard. You're gonna love it. I have to go now, but you can follow me on Twitter. I'll probably be live tweeting my date or direct messaging Giolio about it. I hope you all have an amazing weekend too. Dayside Monday, which means there's going to be no PM show. It's May Albina, so you have to watch daytime in the morning or the afternoon. I'm going to miss you terribly, and you should turn on Channel 10 right now.